All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Happy 2019. We are ready to kick this year off strong, right? Come back strong, out of the gate, and let's do this. All right. So how was everybody's break? How's everybody feeling? You guys are nearing the end of the program. Feeling good? Thumbs up. Anybody cook anything exceptional that they want to talk about from over the break? Give us a quick thing, that's something that you're really proud of, or something that you tasted that was new and unique. No? So you guys are going to be like, it's going to be like pull and teach for you guys in this class?
I'll go.
Okay, thank you. We're all friends here. You guys all know each other, right? I'm Chef Catherine, and that's Chef Greg, and I've seen a lot of you before, so let's get with it. Let's talk.
So I did my Christmas tradition is that we usually do a pierogies, and so we went on vacation to Maryland to see my boyfriend's parents, and we usually do traditional, on my side of the family, traditional pierogies, regular potato, cheese, whatever. And I actually taught my mother-in-law how to make pierogies, and we did some different ones. We did them with sweet potatoes, and they actually turned out really good. So that was fun.
Cool, awesome. I love it. Pierogies are fantastic. Yeah. Oh, I see April made a Christmas tree cupcake with your granddaughter. Awesome. Cool. You guys, remember, feel free to share these, fun photos in the class cafe. It's fun to see one another's work, right? That's where we can gain inspiration. Maybe you see something that somebody else has made, and it's like, oh, I want to try that, right? That's constantly how we learn. So, anyways, let's just hop into this for a second. All right, I see Anicia, your hand is up. What's up? Okay, I see if you come on and join us. Pork roulaline by Sean, like a roulade, perhaps? Or rouladine, I'm not sure. Well, anyways, keep sharing stuff. Feel free to unmute yourself and hop in here. All right, guys? Because what you don't know is that what we're going to be doing in this class is a lot of conversation. All right? This is not like the other classes that you've had in this program. Okay? It is going to be about doing research. We're going to talk. It's going to be, a communal class where we all exchange ideas and we learn and we grow. So first, just a quick little intro. Chef Catherine. I used to work on farms. I've worked in kitchens. I worked around the world. I obviously love to eat, and I think that the closer you are to the product, right, the fresher it is. So when we start talking about this concept, which is farm to table, let's always go back to the root, right? The source, okay? Where does food grow? What are we connected to? We are constantly using food as our tool. It's our paint, right? We're all artists. So I've got a lot more that you'll find out about me later on. Just want to quickly introduce Chef Greg. Chef Greg.
Hello, everybody. My name is Greg. I spent 10 years working for Hyatt Hotels on their corporate task force team, renovating and opening hotels. And up to my last role, I was the executive chef for Bank of America, running their corporate campuses. We are, I believe, your last line before your externship. So definitely feel like, use that. Like, if you want to have a conversation, have a conversation. If you want to play devil's advocate during class, play devil's advocate during class. This is your last, time to really get in there. And this class definitely has a lot of information that can really go both ways, like ethically and what we're serving and how we're serving it and why.
Exactly. And we are, both Chef Greg and I are going to play devil's advocate at times. We are going to say things that maybe will sound like we're contradicting one another or ourselves. But remember, we are trying, it's a really important thing when you think about when you research anything, when you study anything, right? Let's take it to a recipe. Is there one recipe and only one recipe to make one dish? No, right? So just like that, there's not just one view, there's not one perspective, there's not one side of the story. So what does that mean? You have to become your own researcher, right? And do your own research and make decisions for yourself and do research upon yourself to figure out what is important and what you value. And then you make these decisions, right? What you're going to find out, like I said, this class is research heavy. However, you're embarking in a lifelong career that is actually research heavy. Because when you want to create a new dish for your menu, what do you have to do? You have to do research, right? You have to look at about 10 different recipes, figure out, okay, where are these threads that are common? What can I do? That's research, right? Then you're figuring out, okay, who supplies the best quality, cheapest meat that I can get, right? My price point, right? I've got to do research for my suppliers, right? I have to do research on my menu. Is it diversified enough? So you're going to be constantly doing research. This is what it's all about. Where can I get the freshest? Who's got the freshest produce? That's research, right? So it's fun, actually, when you start getting into it. The old saying, knowledge is power. It really is. The more you know, the better a chef you will be, okay? Because if you know how to attack a dish from 3 different angles or from 5 different cultures, guess what that gives you? An insight and a lead above all the other chefs that aren't doing that. So if we stay like this, we don't grow, right? We need to constantly be learning and reaching from others. So let's get ready to talk. Farm to table. Here we go. We'll talk a little bit about externship and stuff later. I want to get you guys going on that. But what does sustainable mean? To any of you, what does the word sustainable mean? Put it in the chat, unmute yourself. Let's hear it. Let's start talking. Like I said, I'm going to be calling on you if you don't, so you might as well just chime in.
Sustainable to me means that the product can continue to be produced. You're growing and you are producing not only fruits, vegetables, meats in a way that you can continue to use the land, continue to use, like for example, our garden in the backyard. We wanted to make sure we weren't using pesticides to damage the dirt and the ecosystem in the dirt, to make sure that next year's crops, after they're rotated, are just as delicious as last year, so that every year you can continue to grow and expound upon that.
All right, great. Perfect. Anybody, I see maintaining at a certain rate or level. Yes, to replenish, multi-uses. Okay, good, thanks. All right. What does organic mean to anybody? Does anybody know what does organic mean to you?
Natural.
Natural. No chemicals. What else? What does natural mean?
And that is where they get you, friends.
The way God created it.
The way God created it. Okay. All right. So do we think that, for example, we've been crossbreeding vegetables for forever, before GMO became a thing, right? Where you would to crossbreed, right? Mendel, the pea theory, right? Where he took little strains. This is way back chemistry, but don't worry, it's easy. I'm not going to freak you out. To get a better, healthier strand or a stronger strand, or make your apples sweet. So is that natural, or is that not natural?
Not natural.
Not natural. Okay. But what about when a seed happens to get in the water and it floats around to another place, or the wind blows and it pops down in another land, and now it has to adapt, right? And it adapts naturally, right? And so now, right? Okay. So there's that. What about anybody else? What are you guys' thoughts? What is organic?
I have a question. Because I go to the store a lot. I pay attention to the labels, and I noticed a label on grapes and watermelons. They have organic watermelons without seeds, and grapes without seeds, and it says organic. So to me, I guess organic would be coming from, a seed, or it can recreate itself.
It can reproduce. Yes, definitely. That which would also be sustainable, right?
Yes.
If you can have a vegetable or a fruit grow, drop its seed, grow again, and reproduce. So yeah, you're very right. It's a real when we're going to explore this more, but when we look a little bit later into labels, okay, what do all these labels mean? Non-GMO, organic, grass-fed, free range, cage-free, preservative-free. What are all these? What is in a label? What do these words mean? Do they have validity? Who's backing these words? Do we know what these words actually have, what the standards are behind them? Because technically, organic should be a non-GMO, right? And grown without pesticides, okay? But not just pesticides, very specific pesticides. Pesticides, people must understand that just because something's organic doesn't mean that it's not grown without pesticides. It is, but they are approved pesticides. So there's varying different levels of chemicals, okay? So to answer your question, and I'm sorry, sir, what in the red chef coat, what's your name?
David, chef.
David, cool. So David, yeah, I don't I'll have to do some extra research, because to my understanding is that a seedless grape or a seedless watermelon should not technically be organic. But like I said, I'm going to have to do some more research, because they should be able to reproduce and not be GMO. And in order to get a seedless varietal, you've usually weeded some characteristics out, essentially.
Yeah, that's what I did. I called BS on it, because I was actually talking to another customer who was shopping too, and I was like, okay, if it's organic, how does it not have a seed? Like, how did somebody created that? Well, to me.
And to be fair, we have been creating breeds of animals and fruits and vegetables since forever. I mean, a really long time. We as humans have been selecting which vegetables or fruits we enjoy more, which ones we plant. We've been selectively breeding, right? So if you like a sweeter carrot instead of like the really woody, stringy one that's bitter, right? You start leaning towards this, and they adapt, right? And they grow, and you pick the vegetables that taste better, and you save those seeds and you grow those. The other ones kind of fall out. The more bitter, the fibrous, right? So, like we said, there's going to be a lot of sides to everything, guys. It's time to start exploring, all right? Because where we are right now in the restaurant industry, a lot of changes are happening. Does anybody know about, what are some trends you all have seen on menus? Let's talk about what we see right now on menus and restaurants. What are some trends you've seen?
Vegan and vegetarian options.
Okay, vegan and vegetarian options. Great. What else?
Gluten-free.
Gluten-free. Yep. All right. What else?
Grass-fed beef.
Grass-fed
grown. Yep.
grown. What else? What about fish? Do you guys notice anything about fish that you've seen, fish or seafood? Greenhouse. Yep. Not frozen. Okay. What else? Wild caught. Probably also farm raised, right? A lot of shrimp out there, predominantly farm raised. Tilapia, farm raised. Salmon, farm raised. You can even get, now how crazy does this, going back to it, you guys know that you can purchase organic farm raised salmon? Does that seem natural or normal? What are they being fed? Organic feed, right?
Chef, Nisa had her hand up.
Yeah, Nisa.
I just said the greenhouse effect. I mean, most vegetables, aren't they being more greenhouse effect than in the farmlands now? You know, with green, the greenhouse.
Are you saying are a lot of vegetables being grown in greenhouses
Yeah.
compared to fields?
Mhm.
Certainly some are, yes. Some vegetables, like a lot of leafy greens and tomatoes predominantly, but you'll see a lot of other ones, are grown in greenhouses for a multitude of reasons. One, you can use a different irrigation, watering system, right? Hydroponics, okay? So does anybody know what hydroponics or aquaponics, right? This means water. Who knows what that might mean?
I do. It means that they're grown. There's many different ways that you can grow them, but their roots are essentially just in water, submerged in water instead of in dirt.
Okay, there we go. Now, how do we think that this water can contain all of the nutrients that are required to grow vegetables? Because remember, right? Let's think about a vegetable. All right, its roots go down into the soil. Okay, extracting nutrients from the soil, whether it's a tomato or a bean or a corn, they're going to be more selective, right? They're going to pull up different vitamins and minerals, okay, that helps them grow. Just like we know that, for example, carrots, right? Vitamin A, right? Okay, maybe it needs certain chemicals and minerals from the soil to have a heavier concentration, right? Maybe it's pulling up more nitrogen from the soil. So if we know that these plants, fruits, and vegetables need nutrients in the soil to pull that up to grow in addition to sunlight, right? How do we get those nutrients in the water?
You make amendments to the water.
What'd you say? Add minerals to the water, right?
Right. So one of the things that a lot of people use, I know, is worm castings and worm tea, because earthworms are so beneficial to your soil and they add a lot of nutrients and a lot of those natural microbials and blah, blah, blah. So they brew worm tea and add that to your water, even just your watering, whether it's in just hydroponics or in the dirt. Either way, it's a great fertilizer.
Yeah, there we go. And I see Sean said UV lighting, liquid nutrients are fed to the plant. Yes. Now there's another thing where you can get, here, let's pull up Chef Greg. Do you want to do it? Google with the fish, the full system?
Yeah.
So
1 second.
check out this, guys. Chef Greg's going to pull up something that's pretty sweet, where you have fish. Right now, when fish defecate, right, you have nitrogen. In a lot of animal feces, there's nitrogen, which is basically a fertilizer, which is one of the, you need carbon, oxygen, nitrogen. These are basics of growing and producing food, right? So the fish, nitrogen in the water, releasing that into the roots. Now, we might have there we go. So, sustainable system here, right? We're going from the bottom up top. It's rotating, circulating, right?
Trying to see if there's another good one on here.
Yeah, any of these are great. So look, tilapia and lettuce share the same water. Huh. So guys, what I'm telling you, what Chef Greg and I are here to talk to you about is that there are so many things happening in the restaurant industry, the food industry. Really, it's a food industry, right? It's not just restaurants. Because for a restaurant to be sustainable, for a restaurant to even exist, who do we depend on? What does it all go back to? Pick up an ingredient, a product from your kitchen. If you list those ingredients, where does it trace back to? The farmer, yes.
The farmer.
Right? The land and the farmer, right? Now,
Yes.
how do we think that those items get from the farm to you?
Boats, trucks, tractors,
Yep,
train.
yep, exactly. How far on average do you guys think? Now, okay, California, excluded because California is kind of its own really unique area in the sense that it is a major agricultural hub, right? So we have a ton of farmland that is dedicated to growing vegetables in California. So how far do we think that those fruits and vegetables have traveled to get to us? Or canned products? 50 miles? 500 miles? 1,200 miles across the nation, depending upon where you live? Because I'm pretty sure that I know that citrus fruit grows in warm weather, right? Warm climates, right? So now you mean you've got the southern kind of belt, right? It's going to be able to provide some citrus fruit. Well, how does all that citrus fruit get all the way up to North Dakota? Or the New England? Trucks, trains, all of that travels a while, right? So you can't harvest something necessarily, all of them, right, at its peak freshness, because why? What's going to happen as it travels?
Age.
Yep, starts to decompose, right? Spoil. Yeah. Think about if you had a fresh, let's talk about tomatoes. I know it's winter for most of us, but think about tomatoes, right, in their peak. They are the best right off the plant, right? What do tomatoes taste like in winter, guys? If you don't live in a warm area where you're growing your tomatoes year round, what do they taste like? What do they look like?
Well, the ones I'm chopping up right now for tacos are pale. They're a little more crunchy. They're not as sweet. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And what's the cost generally that's of tomatoes in season versus tomatoes out of season? More. Yeah. Pretty much you could take that for any vegetable or fruit in and out of season. What are the costs? The cost difference. When you're harvesting, you have a huge abundance, right? Now, somebody mentioned processing plants, right? So let's say we're a company that needs to make tomato puree and tomato sauce. Well, guess when we're harvesting? We're harvesting that at the peak of the tomato harvest, end of August, September, and we're going to transport all of those tomatoes as quickly as possible in huge trucks to a processing plant, where then it's going to get, the pH is going to get balanced, everything's going to get measured out as they do, right? Weigh it, scale it, test sugar levels, quantity, and then can, process, and put away. Now, why do we think that they're going to do that at the harvest as opposed to some other time? Anybody? Why would you harvest when it's, yeah, Brianna?
Harvesting is usually done not exactly when they are perfectly ripe. So we usually want to do the harvesting when it is, I'm very sorry.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So partly done around the time where fruits and vegetables are not at their peak quite yet. They have a little bit more time to ripen. So that's usually the reason why they harvest around that time where they're just not quite ready yet.
But you're right. I mean, you really want to harvest at the peak of ripeness, right? You want to be able to transport them, but you're going at their time, right? But why would they do it then as opposed to any other time throughout the growing season or when it's not? Because of a few key reasons. Cost, right? Because if you have a huge load of tomatoes coming in, your costs are lower.
Yeah.
Flavor, right? Because if you're using a bunch of tomatoes that are pale, crunchy, and out of season, do they have much flavor? No. Right. So, flavor, cost, what else might be a reason? Anybody?
Accessibility, there's probably a lot of them.
Exactly. There you go. Okay, so you've got some big factors coming in, right? Now, as a company, you're also thinking, okay, or as an individual, let's go back, let's make it smaller. If you have a harvest of something, of a delicious fruit or vegetable that's at its peak, and you can't use all of them right now at this moment, you cannot consume them all, you cannot sell them all on your menu, what do you do with all of that leftover, fantastic, delicious, ripe, just harvested fruit and vegetable? What do you do with it?
Make goulash.
Goulash.
Either freeze it and store it or sell it at a discounted price.
Okay, I see somebody
Canning.
saying corn. So it's called preservation, freezing, canning, right? What other preservation techniques do we use, guys? Canning, freezing, what else? Dry, what else? Can, freeze, dry.
Mix, puree,
Puree, cook it down, make a sauce, make a preserve if it's a fruit, make a jam.
David said pickle, chef.
Pickle, yes, that's what I was waiting for. All right. What about meat? What about meat? How do we preserve meat if we can't use it all? Sure. Yeah, so curing, right? Curing and drying, salting and curing. Salt to make jerky. Yeah. Okay. So you guys, what we're all talking about right here, all of this ties back to what it is to be sustainable. Think about what happened when we were all just humans wandering the world, okay? Wandering Earth, and we needed to go from point A to point B. Or we didn't have proper refrigeration. What were we doing? We had to be able to take our bounty when we had it and store it for later, so that way when in times of need, in times of drought, in times of anything where we did not have high supplies, that we had these for later, right? Fermentation. How do we think fermentation, started? What are some things that people know about fermentation? Anybody? Throw out some items that are fermented.
Sauerkraut.
Peaches.
What?
Kimchi.
Kimchi.
Kimchi. Yep.
Wine.
Chef.
What else? Cabbage. Yep, for sauerkraut. What else, guys? Beer. That's fermented. Bread, right?
Meat. Meat can be fermented.
Ooh, meat can be fermented. So can fish, right? Fish can be salted, fermented to make a condiment later, right? Yogurt, cheeses, right? Because what do you do when you have all that excess milk, right? You're milking a cow. You got to do something with it, right? Otherwise, you can't drink all that milk at once. So you make cheese, you make yogurt, right? Tofu, miso paste, right? Miso is fermented. So when we look at food products that we use, it really comes, these things all go back to a time when we did not have the situation that we're in right now, where we had refrigeration and temperature control, all of that, right? These are preservation methods. You used what the land gave you and you stored for later, right? You rotated your crops so that you didn't pull out all of the nutrients. This is the first time in the history of the land that we have not been rotating crops. Crop rotation. Yep, smoking. Nice job, David. Smoking, but rotating crops is a huge component to sustainability. So, who's ever had eaten at possibly a farm-to-table restaurant? What do you guys think a farm-to-table restaurant is? Remember, there are no wrong answers here. We are just talking. What does farm-to-table mean to you guys?
Everything is local.
Everything is local. All right.
fresh garden fruit.
Fresh garden
Fresh.
fruit. Okay.
And
Yeah.
in season?
In season. Okay. Anybody else? I didn't hear whoever said that.
As
Expensive.
fresh as possible.
As fresh as possible. Why do we think that it might be expensive?
It costs more to produce. It costs more to get it to you as fresh as possible.
But if it's nearby, shouldn't we have just reduced? If we're normally shipping something 1,200 miles and now we're only taking it 50 miles, shouldn't that cost less?
Yes.
I think it's higher demand for higher quality items. The sooner that it was picked and you took it right off that vine and cooked it in the pan, or the fresher that meat is, the more higher quality it is. Therefore, people will pay more for that type of cuisine. That you get what you pay for.
Do we think that it could possibly come to the fact that maybe it takes more labor to produce certain foods, vegetables, in a smaller scale, produced locally, compared to a massive, huge industrial agricultural system, where you have tons of equipment doing the jobs that normally humans would do, right? Maybe that could be a component of it. Maybe it's that the cost of regular pesticides, high chemical pesticides, are cheaper than some of the more natural. Maybe you have, maybe let's think about this. If I don't put a bunch of hardcore pesticides on my fruits and vegetables, I might have a higher chance of having a pest get in and eat some of my leaves, right? Eat some of those tasty leaves, right? Now it doesn't look as pretty, right? So now I have a smaller yield, right? I don't have this massive yield because every single leaf on that head of lettuce is perfect because I have been dousing it with chemicals, right? What do we look for when we go to stores? Or let's also say when we take it to, in a restaurant, when you receive a box of produce, what are we looking for?
Freshness.
Freshness.
Age.
Age, freshness, yep. What else? Are we checking the texture of it, the firmness? Are we smelling it?
Yes.
Indicators, right? Because we know that if we get an older product in, we have to utilize that product quicker, right? Otherwise, greater food waste, right? Which contributes to our overall food cost in a restaurant or in our own home, right? I see somebody talking about getting a coon. Yeah, that is fresh and local. Aquarian. I've actually always wanted to try raccoon, so hopefully one day I will. But so we're talking about there you go for hunting, right? That's hunting. That's going out and seeking what you need, right? Being resourceful. So let's get back to this whole idea about humans, though, right? So and sustainability. So sustainable isn't just about replenishing it. It's about supporting a community, right? Communities are really important, right? That's how we survive. We're pack animals at the end of the day. We would never, if you go out alone, you're not gonna make it. Some big bear's gonna come eat you. But if you have a big group together, you're good, right? So community, it's how you stay together. It's how you help one another. To be sustainable means you support your community, means you support one another. We have to help one another. Do we think that you can live a sustainable life if I'm paying you just minimum wage and you're working a lot of hours and you don't have proper insurance and all of these, is that sustainable for that human?
No.
No, exactly. So the sustainable food and farm to table restaurants and this movement is far more than just the farmer who's growing, the harvesters, the workers who are harvesting the fruit, right? It is more than the customers that are dining. It is about a community and a sustainability for everybody involved in the supply chain. It becomes extremely complicated, guys and gals. It is not an easy or straightforward road. There are a lot of crazy crossovers. Yeah, David.
Okay, I might be getting the story wrong, but I think during the, I think it was hurricanes in Carolina, they had a lot of some other pigs in the methane. Doesn't that cause like problems with the water, which would cause problems with the produce, which would cause problems with, so when does it become not sustainable, but actually detrimental?
Yeah, I mean, that is what happened. There was a lot of feces. If we, I don't, were you asking a question or?
Well, I guess you know, you're trying to be sustainable, but when it crosses over, like, is there like a tipping point to where that sustainability that you're trying to maintain actually causes more harm than good?
I would say that we are at that tipping point, to be completely honest. If we look at the state of the environment and the earth, we're at that. If we, well, I'm going to show you guys a lot of information. Chef Greg and I are going to talk to you about a lot of really important things. When you look at something called greenhouse gases, right? Methane, as you're talking about, guess what? Animals, right? Release a lot of methane, right? That's gas, okay, for anybody who doesn't know. Okay. Greenhouse gases, GHG. Cows, for example, beef contribute to a huge, huge, huge percentage of greenhouse gases that are released that are affecting our overall climate of the earth, right? How many trees have been cleared out in the Amazon so we can raise more cattle so we can eat more beef? How much feed, how much water does it take to yield 1 pound of beef? What do you guys think? What do you think? How much does that take? Cows eat a lot. They are big creatures. Do we think it takes more or less, greater or fewer resources to create 1 pound of beef, or 1 pound of chicken, or 1 pound of beans, or 1 pound of rice?
It takes more to make 1 pound of beef.
Yes, you are correct. 100% it does. So, you guys have heard of those movements like Meatless Monday, right? It's a way to, you know, have us all be a little bit more conscientious of how much meat we're consuming. Patricia, I think who was speaking earlier, talking about vegan and vegetarian being big names on menus, right? There's a movement to go plant-based. Environmentally conscious, right? Aware of what we're consuming. Remember, every action has a reaction. So as David, you were saying, is there a tipping point? Giving back to the soil. Yeah, Sean, we have to replenish the land that we've been taking it from, right? Mother Earth gives us everything. If we keep taking from her, we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot, right? What about food waste in general? What do we think that contributes to? Restaurants. Remember, we are huge, as members of this industry, we are huge players in the overall effect of what happens. What's your food waste look like? What are you doing with all those scraps? How big are your portions are? What's coming back that's not going back to the guests, right? how feasible is it to say, hey, I'm going to compost all my waste at my restaurant? Is that easy? Do we think that's easy? Do we think there are systems in place? Is that hard? How do we train our staff to know what can go compost, what needs to be thrown out? How do you do that? Difficult. How do you train staff to know exactly what to recycle? I need the recycling for the cardboard. I need plastic. Is the plastic number 275? Is it 346? What one is it? Can I recycle it? Is it styrofoam? Can styrofoam be recycled? Aren't a bunch of to-go containers in styrofoam? It gets really deep, guys. It's not just this surface level thing. And like I said, we are major players. Chef Greg, let's talk about quickly, because you guys, this is not just about small restaurants that are doing this movement, right? Chef Greg used to work at Bank of America, and you all had, tell them a little bit about your some of your percentages that as a working for a large corporation, you had to hit and maintain.
So for sustainable seafood, all of our seafood had to be sustainable. They did an audit every month on what we were purchasing, where it was coming from, and then we had to answer for our audit every month based on our sustainable seafood. And then we also had to hit 20% of all of our produce ordered locally. So we also had another audit per month, and we had to meet with the regional manager for Bank of America and explain to him if we were less than 20%, why. And sometimes, you know, weather, things like that. But if it cost more, we still had to meet our 20% as part of our contract. And when you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars of a contract, it's not really, there's not a lot of like excuses. So even though it was a huge, large scale operation, we still had to have all of our sustainable seafood, and we still had to have 20% of all of our produce local. In return of that, when you have to meet a food cost and when you have to meet a budget and you have a contract of how much you're going to spend and you're responsible for it, think of how many other things have to go to the wayside. If you have to order sustainable seafood and you're ordering cod, what do you think your chicken's going to be? It's not going to be organic chicken. Is it going to be random chicken where each chicken breast comes out of the box and it's strangely like this big? It is. It is. So even in a professional setting, and the largest scales that you can think of, thousands and thousands and thousands of people in a corporate campus all over the country, you're still playing a game. And the game, you can say it's ethically wrong in some ways. However, my salary, I was eligible for 20% of my bonus, but I was also eligible per quarter. Part of that was food costs. So how do you think that I met my food costs, having have sustainable seafood, having have local produce, having to run organic programs per month, or a superfood per month? It might be raspberries, and they're just flooding everywhere. Raspberries aren't cheap. So all of a sudden I have to meet that. I have to balance that out. So even as just like a balance of ordering produce or productions or processing plants, even down to yourself, regardless of your position, you're still always balancing. You can even say what's right or wrong, or you could say what's good or bad. However you want to word it, you're still always financially and ethically responsible to always still balance it.
100%. And you bring up a great point, right? Financially, ethically. I might love to buy everything organic. I don't make that type of money. I can't afford organic everything, right? I can't put organic everything on a restaurant. You know why? It is going to be really, really expensive. And I'm not going to be able to convince my customers to pay that. Because remember, it's not just the chicken or the broccoli. It's the onions, it's the garlic, it's the flour, it's the sugar, it's the oil, right? Staples, spices. Coming from everywhere, right? So maybe you figure out what has value to you, right? Okay, it's important for me to serve or purchase for my own health organic meat and dairy and eggs and fish, naturally wild caught. And then for the rest of the stuff, maybe I don't have strict rules for myself, but I make a smaller portion. I eat and I consume less of high quality proteins. That's how I balance it out for me. I say, okay, I only want to eat good quality meat. I can't afford as much meat as I'd like, but I'd rather eat higher quality and less of it than a lot of bad quality or not as high of quality, okay? That's how I do my balance for myself. That doesn't work for everybody, and that's okay, okay? It doesn't work for every establishment. How would you convince people in customers in some areas that, oh, you should really be eating less meat? It's hard to change people's habits. It's hard for people to understand the whole system, the whole sustainable movement when you don't know the full story, right? No, none of us know the full story. We all have to do research to get our full story, find out what's important. Maybe it's more important to get something local than it is organic.
Patricia said, people are so used to being fed blindly, ignorance is bliss. And to back that up, just think of a diet fad. Everybody in the office building, everybody in the town, everybody across America, all Yahoo, every website says, this is the diet for 2019. Everybody has to be on it. It's fine. It may be just protein. It may be tilapia. Tilapia is sustainable. However, in South America, they have them in big fish tanks with way too many tilapia than should be in each fish tank. So is that diet necessarily the healthiest? Is the diet necessarily worth it? Is it ethical to the fish? Is it ethical to tilapia? It's not necessarily just for me to say, but when you're sourcing things in a restaurant setting and you're the executive chef, the food and beverage director, that's things that you have to think about. Is where are you going to get something from, and then how is it produced for you?
100%. You gave me a good idea, Chef Greg.
You're welcome.
Superfoods. Remember superfoods, right? So quinoa, that was a big thing a few years ago, right? Acai or acai, the ACIA berry, right? Guess what? That was a fruit that was really fed the people in that region in the Amazon, dependent upon that. Now, guess what happens when the price skyrockets? They can't afford their natural food that they've been dependent upon. How do you deal with that? Is that okay? Should we be consuming that? Moringa. Moringa is another superfood. I mean, all of these things that we pull from and pull on, like Chef Greg said, diet, fad. Oh, so we should do Atkins. You guys remember back in the day, Atkins, which is kind of like paleo now, right? Hey, lots of meat, lots of fat, not so many vegetables. Let's do this. Is that really, maybe if we're all like working out like hunters and gatherers from back in the day, we need that much protein and we're, just surviving on some dried berries and herbs that we find and some raw meat, some seal meat that we're shoveling it down. Okay, gluten-free. Well, what if you're not celiac? What if you don't have celiac disease? What if you don't have IBS? What if you don't have something that is a negative down to for gluten? Should you avoid it? What about carbohydrates? I don't know, guys. Dairy's mucus forming. Should we have that? David, what's up? I saw your hand.
Yeah, how can you really tell if animals are farm raised and all the other stuff unless you go see it for yourself? Is there like a form or documentation that they have to uphold by law, or how do you really know without taking their word for it?
You bring up a really good point, which is the relationship between you and the farmer, right? Okay, you as the shopper, you as the chef of a restaurant, where are you sourcing from? All right, so here it is. FDA labels, certain labels. Those organic. They are. We're going to go into more labels along the program, the course. But basically, you do have certain standards, a set of rules and regulations that in order to get certain certifications. So if you're grass-fed, 100% grass-fed, or grass-fed finished on grain, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, there's a regulating body, the USDA generally, or other private regulating bodies that give certificates. And they will come to a farm, they will observe, they'll take soil quality, they'll see, cage-free, or access to open pastures. What does that really mean? We're going to get into a lot of that, but basically there are USDA agents that go in, just like they would check out a slaughterhouse to make sure things are clean, just like you're going to have the health department come to your restaurant and check to see if you're clean. Similar in that way. But let's take that into this class right now. And by the way, guys, this class usually runs anywhere between usually hovers around hour 15, hour and a half, because before this class was taught in 2 days, and I didn't think that was great. So we have condensed it, and it usually runs about anywhere between hour 10, hour 30, as opposed to doing 2 different sessions. So let's hop into this right here. So also, I know, guys, that this new scene, we're all getting used to it. So we're all in the same boat with you, the new class thing. So when you throw into week 1, all right, these you must read. So this is the school research database, which you can utilize at your will. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are all required readings, okay? 2 of them are interviews, are about 10, 12, 13 minutes long, and the others are really not that long of reads. They're pretty straightforward, clear. So read all of these, because you're gonna see Farm to Fable, David, where it goes right into that. Who do we believe? How do we believe this? Are people putting false information on menu items to lure customers in? I'm telling you guys, the reading here it's incredible. Once you start to scratch the surface, you start seeing gaps and you start questioning everything, which is good, because we should question. Who said it? People being led blindly and eating whatever they're told. Yeah, we need to stop that nonsense. And this is how we do it. And don't just take what Chef Greg and I have, up here. Take these as a base and then explore and continue, because there's going to be more sides than just this. But this has a pretty balanced side of the pros to Farm to Table, as well as the cons, or the lies we're being fed. So it's a balanced approach. We want you all to know that at all times we want you to be doing research and making decisions for yourself and figuring out what is the truth for you. I'm not here to push any agendas or ideas or on you. Okay, that's not any of our intent. So just know that we're presenting information that you should take and then run with it and do your own research so you can make valid, educated decisions about your own health, your family's health, and what it takes for a restaurant to survive. Because let me tell you, guess what? There's not, if you look at the total percentage of restaurants out there in, let's just call it America, what percentage are Farm to Table and actually Farm to Table? Not a huge number. What percentage makes up organic produce and organic animals on the shelves? Not as much as we think, right? I mean, there's a movement. It's gaining, but it's not like every restaurant's constantly sourcing organic food. Most of them, quite honestly, are not. It is not organic. It is commodity. It's massively agricultural industry produced. Yeah, David, what's up?
I'm sorry to keep bothering you. I was just thinking about the organic food, and so if they don't put pesticides on it, but the water is treated a certain way, and they put that water on the fruits or vegetables, wouldn't that make it kind of non-organic if the water's been treated with some type of chemical?
Well, pretty much all water has been treated with chemicals for us, because otherwise we wouldn't have enough fresh drinking water. So if you think about the water processing plant, what happens? Water, then it gets treated because you have, everything's coming together. So yeah, I mean, totally, I think valid a point. Check that out, right? What's in our water? Is there fluoride? Is there chlorine, right? What's being added to our water to strip it, to make it drinkable, potable? But isn't that required in some ways? Because what would we do if we just had a bunch of chemicals from people dropping their pharmaceutical drugs, their aspirin, their liquid detergent soap, things that we're washing with, right? That's why there's also a movement to be more natural in some of your cleaning products. So yeah, the water can be contaminated. But, you know, I'd love to say, yeah, the organic farms are watering, irrigating their land with naturally fed spring water. But it's not. So yeah, that's the way you need to start looking at it from every angle. Where could contamination be coming in? And is that okay? Where do we say, okay, that makes sense, I understand this is a priority? Because if you don't have potable drinking water, if you're using, watering is different but you can't put a bunch of water that has feces, right? And then E. coli content is high, right? Outbreaks, food, all of this. So yeah, it doesn't stop, guys. If you go down that, and fair warning, I think Chef Greg can back me up on this, you can go down a crazy rabbit hole with this information, guys. There's a lot of information out of there. There's a lot of people with a lot of very strong beliefs in whether it's GMO, non-GMO, Monsanto, against Monsanto, what's going on with our food, how are we raising our chickens, how are we raising our pigs, beef, everything, fish, farm raised. There's a lot of information out there. So do your reading. It's good stuff. It'll give you the right base for what we're heading into. And it's just to kind of get a better idea of this is I think really cool, right? Because you'll find out that there is no, what is farm to table? What is sustainable? Well, there's no definition. There's no real definition. So this one is pretty cool, Thrillist, what it really means when a restaurant is farm to table. And they go through I think 6 different chefs, and they talk about what it means to be farm to table for that chef. Because we're all gonna have different viewpoints, right? This one, it means you not only need to know how your farmer raises livestock, but how the livestock is slaughtered and processed, right? It doesn't just stop at the farm. It goes to the slaughterhouse, right? It means your restaurant must abide by the quotas put in place to prevent overfishing. Like Chef Greg was talking about sustainable seafood, right? It means your relationship with your farmer, fisher, or rancher needs to be rock solid if you want to succeed. So there's all these different things, okay? It means the world around you dictates your menu. So let's hop into this week's assignment so we can get it going. And if you scroll down, obviously every week, knock out those conversion knowledge checks. Super easy, knock it out. You got this. It's nothing new for you guys. Here are 4 different styles of farm-to-table restaurants. You will see that they run from Blue Hill Farm, which is pretty hardcore. They have their own farm. They're pulling the vegetables from the farm, using them in the restaurants, okay? To a place like, I'm not gonna pull all these up because you guys are gonna have to do this research anyhow. So you wanna check these out because you're gonna see very different ones. North Pond Restaurant, they source regionally. They're more known for regional, so they're pulling from different farms. Actually, I'm gonna show you this, forget it. I'm going back on my work, but this is actually really good because you'll see what happens here. So you've got North Pond. Now, it's like, okay, you start reading and you think, well, wait, where are they pulling from? Oh, here we go, farms. And then boom, right? Here's a list of all the farmers that this one restaurant works with. It's a lot, right? And you'll see, so North Pond's located in Chicago, predominantly Midwestern farms. You get a little bit of South Carolina on there, right? Some New York, okay, but multiple farms. Then you might pull up Husk. Husk is pretty sweet. Sean Brock, if you guys are familiar, Southern cuisine. Actually, one of their chefs just was nominated top chef for the year. But you'll see, let's click on Charleston. Read about this. Oh, let's see. Our menu frequently changes with what the region's producers provide daily. See what's fresh today. Today's menu. So we've got a menu here that's going to be rotating. Maybe you have a few items that's on there for a few days, right? Because you have the quantity to do that. But maybe you ran out of gem lettuces, right? And you got to switch that out. So now tomorrow, you don't have the gem lettuce. It's another green that's on there. It's endive, right? Or the cauliflower is now Romanesco. Whatever it is, these things are going to change. Okay, and Husk is unique in that it has four locations, right? So Blue Hill, they're in New York. They've got like 3 locations. You've got Husk with 4. You've got North Pond with 1, and then pop into Mendocino Farms. Mendocino Farms. Remember we said California, super unique in the sense that it's near like basically the massive agricultural hub, right? It is the hub for the nation. All right, well, let's see. They've got multiple locations, right? You're going to see that there's more than just 4 here. Think about 9, 12, something like that, 15. It's a lot, right? But they have the supply that's close, okay? Now, find out about the food. Okay, menus, how do we do this? Let's see, because there's something that I want to really point out to you guys, which is actually, okay, meet our partners, right? So they've partnered up with certain farms, you get a little story about them, right? But what I think is interesting is, okay, so I pulled up this guy, Drago Bakery, right? Because I wanted to get into the deeper route. What's Drago Bakery doing, right? Are they sustainable? Or are they local for them, and therefore, okay, that is not it. This is about food. But hey, at least that wasn't something really weird that came up, right, guys? I'm just kidding. But Drago Bakery. So here we go. I was reading this and I thought, oh, this is pretty cool in Culver City. And now I didn't do full-on research, but from what I found, I did not see where it was mentioned where their wheat was coming from. So sure, it's locally produced, which is awesome, but what about that wheat? Remember, it goes more to just what is the product, but where is that product coming from? So great, you're using locally sourced bakery, but what about the ingredients that are going in? Does that make a difference? Are they supporting a local community and a local bakery, and that has the positive impact? These are things to evaluate and really look into when you are picking out a restaurant for this week's assignment. What you're gonna do, here we go. This is it. You're gonna find a farm-to-table restaurant in your city, state, or region within the US, okay? Bring it close to home, right? This is about farm-to-table, this is about being local. Find something. You might not have something in your town. Then you look in your city. Then you look in your state. Guaranteed, probably almost everybody is gonna have one in their state. I bet. Maybe not.
How would you look that up to know if that restaurant is farm to table?
So let's talk about that really quickly. First, what I would do is you would put in a simple Google search. Farm to table restaurants near me. Farm to table restaurants in Wakanda, Michigan, right? And you do a search. Should we just want to just do this? And then what would happen is once you find that restaurant, you need to then go in, and I'm going to show you, right? Review their menu, website, and any additional resources you can find. Like that one I just pulled up, right? The Mendocino. Okay, this is, you see where it is. They're talking about the farms, the partners that they're getting their produce from, right? This is how you start to evaluate if the restaurant is indeed local, farm to table, where they're sourcing from, okay? So this is, like I said, research, right? You gotta get into it. You have to scratch the surface of these restaurants. Don't just, if they just say, oh, I'm farm to table, well, technically everything's farm to table. Everything came from a farm and is on the table, right? Everything is. So, you know, don't take the menu's word. Find out who's their farmer. Where are they getting their baked goods from? Who's supplying them? Do they have? Do they talk about any other environmental practices that they use, like composting or LED lighting or low flow toilets, right? The actual structure, right? Because those are things. Do they talk about the value? Do they give a mission statement? A mission statement meaning what our belief and our core value system and our goal is to support a community, to bring healthier food to the area, whatever it is, right? So that's how you're going to do it. That's how you're going to find out if it is. All right. You want to see some shout outs to actual farmers. You want to read about that connection, why they are doing what they're doing. If they just are using farm to table to lure customers in because it's a popular word to get you into the front door, be sure to read that article I told you about, Farm to Fable, before you start doing your research. Don't get tricked, guys. All right. Take notes on any buzzwords. Chef Greg's going to pull that up in a minute. Farms, suppliers, any other evidence. Okay. And then you answer these questions: the name of the restaurant, the website, the location. I'm going to run through this and then Chef Greg, you take it on. 5 farm to table buzzwords. Okay. These are a few: locally sourced, organic, non-GMO, seasonal, fresh, sustainable. But we all know fresh can be used, as Chef Greg said to me earlier today. He's like, yeah, but McDonald's uses fresh. Yeah, they do. Because they're using fresh eggs. At one point, they were fresh, right? Okay. Then at least 3 things from the website that makes this a farm to table restaurant. Okay. So that could be talking about the actual farmer, the connection to the farmers that you're using. List 3 things. Then if you can't find how the chef defines sustainability, usually you will find something. Do a Google search for the chef's name. What is the chef's belief? Why did Sean Brock do what he did with Husk? Okay. What's their vision? Then where and how do they source their products, right? Like we said, when we pulled up that Mendocino, they are sourcing from Fitman Family Farms, Drake Family, Scarborough, Peter, Paul, and Mary's farm, who knows, wherever they're getting it from, right? Local farmer markets, whatever. When you look at these 2 kind of combine, okay? This last one, what percentage of their menu meets the farm to table criteria? You want to think about all those ingredients, okay? Like I said, is the flour? Are you getting the onions? Certain staple, maybe they're just focusing on the meat products and they really talk about meat and fish, where they get those from, and they don't mention where they're getting their vegetables from. So maybe that's, maybe they're hovering at like 50%. It's really hard to have a 95% to 100% farm to table restaurant. Think about that. If you were in New England and you wanted something acidic on your menu, where are you getting that from? Not citrus. So if you find or if you're in North Dakota, you've got oranges on there, you're not getting those unless they maybe have a green hot house, but it's doubtful. All right. So think about that. Okay. Think about all the products required to create and execute the menu. Single farms, multiple forms, pastry staples, all of this. All right. Chef Greg, I'm tossing it off to you.
All right.
You stop sharing the screen and let's show this class a little bit about buzzwords.
All right. Let me see. Just real quick, David, to go back to something you said earlier, when you were talking about seeing it with your own eyes. If somebody's coming into your place and they're like, I have the best beef ever, et cetera, here's a sample, that's the first thing you should ask them. Let me see it. Like, you should want to go there and you should want to see it with your eyes. At all my jobs, they were all corporate. So we had a contract. We had a company that went out and did that for us. They just looked everything. You can do the same thing. Just like the health inspector is going to come in and be like, let me see your temperature logs. It's fine. Go to the beef place. Let me see your temperature logs. Even if it's Cisco, I've been on a Cisco tour before. I walk out of the produce cooler and I peel all the gaskets back to see if there's mold in it. Why? Because if there's mold in a Cisco cooler, you pretty much can tell the rest of it's kind of fall between the cracks. So when you said, like, see it with your own eyes, see it with your own eyes. Like, first, I have the best hors d'oeuvres on the planet. Perfect, show me. not in a cooler that you brought in all nice. No, I want to physically go into your location and I want to see it. All right.
Seeing is believing, right, Chef?
Yes. So these are just some examples of some restaurant menus, just some things to look for when we're talking about like a farm-to-table restaurant. So this is the Blue Duck, which is in a Hyatt, she used to work for. So if you look at all these places, or I'm sorry, if you look at all the menu items at the end, so the roasted beet and fall vegetable salad, what does it end with? Mustard's Garden, Maryland. Baby Gem lettuce, Earth and Eats, Pennsylvania. So it's crediting all of these farms. Some of them are the same. It's crediting all these farms in every single menu item. Every single thing on this menu is credited to somewhere. Path Valley, I don't know how to say that. Cedar Rivers Farms, Creekstone, Kansas. It's all credited to something. And then when we're talking about some buzzwords, this is a place in Maryland also, but it says, from the U.S. and materials are thoughtfully sourced. All of our wines are organic, biodynamic, or local, leaning towards the latter of the two. And then it says beers are farm breweries in Maryland. It's saying Maryland. It's saying biodynamic. It's saying organic. Those are the buzzwords that we're looking for. Those ones. This kind of has the mission statement at the top, because I couldn't find the mission statement for the chef exactly. However, it says bringing sustainability and locally sourced burgers and beers paired with an industrial raw edginess. That's saying, why are they serving burgers? That's their purpose of serving the burgers. And if we scroll down to the first item, it says our Florida grass-fed burgers are from Fort McCoy Ranch in Marion County, Florida. So they're saying they're sustainable, locally sourced, and then just right at the top, they're stating that. And then the last one, kind of chef already pre-showed this, but this is obviously in Miami. However, this list is all of the farmers that they're working with at this place in Miami. Proper Sausages, of course, we're assuming they're getting their sausages from there. But all of these are farms, all of these are suppliers, farmers, brewers, vineyards that they're getting their products from. So this website, this restaurant is showing we're farm to table, we're sustainable, and then here's why.
Awesome. And I'd like to also point out, this is a great example because it says local partners. So, you know, that goes back to the community, right? Maybe Proper Sausages is or is not getting their pork locally sourced. Maybe it's ethically sourced. Maybe that Drago's Bakery that I showed you, maybe they're getting their wheat from someplace that they're not talking about, it's coming from multiple farms, but it's a local bakery. So guess what? That transportation distance is reduced, which reduces your cost, which reduces your overall carbon footprint, right? So there are all these little teeny factors that contribute to what makes farm to table sustainable, what is sustainable. Pretty cool, guys. And really the message behind it is quality, community, sustainability. There's usually generally 4 pillars that are associated with being, some will say 3 pillars, others will say 4 pillars, that it makes it. And I believe, let me pull this up. I'm pretty sure it's right in this first one. Let me just pull it up so we can show you guys. Here you go. Let me just share the screen. Where did you guys go? There we go. Principles behind the farm to table, okay? Food security, proximity, self-reliance, sustainability, right? But it goes into self-reliance, communities, right? Meeting their own needs. So it's full circle. Chef Jamie, who you guys all had last block, would always say it's about completing the circle. Sustainable means you continue this circle, okay? There are not gaps in it that doesn't allow it to go back into it, right? You can think about that like compost. right? You grow something, make food, have waste that goes back into the land, which then fertilizes and helps to grow better product for the next time, which then the nutrients go in and we come full circle. Or recycling, reduce, reuse, recycle, taking glass, putting that into recycling, getting recycled glass out of it, right? Using it for another product. So I think we're pretty good, guys. I think we're pretty solid for tonight. If you have questions, before we cut off, one thing to start thinking about. I'm going to be doing some revamping and adjusting to the class page the next 4 or 5 weeks. So don't worry about that. But week 3, you are going to be needing to do an interview, okay? And you need proof of your interview. So what I would suggest, start researching right now. Bakeries, butchers, farmers market, places like that in your area, okay, that you can go and have an interview with, okay? If you don't have somebody that you can, a farmer, a beekeeper, a brewmaster, a vintner, a cheesemaker, any of these artisanal crafts, okay? We want you to have an interview with them. So start kind of rolling your brain around what and who and where you might like to get an interview with. And like I said, you need proof of this, whether it's an audio proof or if you can't get in touch with them somehow by phone, and record it, and you have to do an email, then the email back and forth. And then a link to, most likely these people will have either, if they're a farmer, they're going to have a website to their farm. You could get a picture with you and the person that you interviewed. So basically we need to have proof of your interview and just start thinking about that. If you have any questions about this, please, or this assignment, please do not hesitate to reach out to Chef Greg or myself. And lastly, externship. We're going to have Chef Gina, who's the externship instructor and or career, hopefully both, career services in next week. If you don't have an externship lined up yet, that's okay. But guess what? Get a match to it. You've got 6 weeks, really less than 6 weeks to secure an externship site. So that way you can finish strong, rock out, do that, and get your certificate. Because guess what, guys? You're almost out of here. And then it's your chance to make an impact and get everybody eating your food, right? So reach out if you have questions and bring your mouths to class next week because I want to hear from you. What have you learned? Discussions, all right? What's changed your mind? What do you think about sustainable lifestyle, farms, restaurants? All right? Cool. Well then, till next week, everybody.
Good night, everybody.